My name is Dan Dorval, and I'm President and CEO of Dorval and Cherney Financial Advisors. I am an independent certified financial planner and author of my book, Financial Success for the Rest of Us, Reality-Based Financial Planning for Mainstream America.
Hi, my name is Leah Woodley. I'm an associate financial advisor with Dorval and Cherney Financial Advisors. Our conversations discuss what it means to do quality of life planning in all areas of your life.
Dan, you've been a financial planner for over 25 years, and you help a lot of people with planning for retirement. When you think back 25 years ago, what did retirement planning typically look like for most people?
Well, it's a great question because, when I first got into business, I think the biggest thing is most of our industry was focused on the sale of products. And what happened was a lot of the way this was positioned with people was you're going to have this much income. So you'll have Social Security, maybe you had a pension back then. And then, maybe we do an annuity or something like that, and it kicks off a certain amount of income. And here's what you're going to have. And then you figure out how to live on that. And the products were more important than any sort of the planning or anything like that. So a lot of people, what they did is they became very good at living within just this fixed. You always heard about people talking about a fixed income for retirement,
Mhm.
and they became good at living on fixed income, whatever that was. And in many cases, if they had quality of life goals that were beyond that fixed income, they were too scared to ever spend some of the money that they worked so hard to save. They skimped and they skimped and they skimped their whole retirement. And now they died and they left a whole bunch of money to their heirs.
Mhm.
So the biggest change, like this evolution of financial planning over time, has been the real value instead of products. The real value of financial planning and advice from a retirement planning standpoint is that as you go through retirement, it's not like I'm in this fixed income stage.
Mhm.
You can design your income to fit with how your quality of life might evolve. So for us, for example, in many cases early in retirement, they're spending the most money early in retirement when they're young and healthy and able to do stuff. So we want them to do all the things they wanted to do, whether that's travel or experiences or whatever that they've always wanted to do. So they spend a lot early in retirement. And what we
Mhm.
want to show them is that they can take withdrawals from their retirement plans that might appear to be way too high. Like if, based on rules of thumb, like the 4% rule or something like that, they might look at it and go, well, you're telling me I can take out 8%.
Mhm.
And they go, that's way too much. People tell me I can't do that. And I'm like, yes, but you're taking 8% for this period of time. And then you're going to maybe turn on Social Security, or maybe you have a pension, or maybe we're going to do something different. And it's going to be okay. So, us showing them that through financial planning and advice, they can do more things. They can have more quality of life. They're not just living on this basic fixed income for their entire retirement. Now we've opened up a whole sense of possibility for them
Mhm.
to be able to have a more fulfilling, especially early retirement.
Yeah, that goes back to us helping to put things into perspective for people because, yeah, with all the noise going on and even our own assumptions, sometimes it can make things more challenging than they necessarily need to be. So you mentioned pensions. Back then, I'm sure there were many more pensions. Pensions were much more common. How has the shift from pensions to now 401ks and 403bs changed the way people approach retirement?
It's that's another great question because when we're retired, and I talk about spending money on quality of life, we're used to spending income.
Hmm.
And so retirement's really a cash flow puzzle. How
Hmm.
much income do I need in order to be able to maintain the quality of life I want to have? And then what are the resources available to provide that income? It's not how much money you have, it's how much cash flow you have available to do the things that you need to do. And most people don't tend to think that way. But in a pension world, that pension was a guaranteed income stream for the rest of your life, that was a great component for solving a cash flow puzzle. A 401k is generally measured in what I have. So I have 500,000, I have a million, I have 2 million, I have whatever I have, and I measure it based on what I have. I don't measure it based on how much I'm going to get in income for the rest of my life. And the challenge with that is we're used to spending income, so a pension worked great for that. I can spend all of my income this month, knowing next month I'm going to get another check.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in a 401k, I can't spend all of my money, otherwise I have no money left. So that's the first thing.
Right.
And the second thing is that 401k balance, I get connected to that balance. And so it's something called anchoring.
Mm-hmm.
If I see that my 401k is worth $1 million, and now I start to spend some of that for retirement to enhance my quality of life. And now let's say the market goes down. And so between spending and the market going down, I only have 900,000 instead of a million. I
Mm-hmm.
look at that and I go, oh my goodness. If I keep going down at that speed, I'm going to be out of money in a certain period of time. And I've anchored to $1 million. So if I have less than a million, I'm somehow worse off. It's like bad that I have less than a million. And so people don't, they're not very well, we're not very well evolved basically to figure out how to take a 401k and turn it into an income plan for being able to suspend sustainably throughout retirement. And that's exactly what we do for people, is show them how to take whatever it is they've accumulated in a 401k, 403b, whatever it happens to be, and now turn it into an income stream that they can spend comfortably and enhance quality of life and know or feel confident that it is sustainable for the rest of their life.
Yeah, we've definitely seen that challenge come up in our meetings with people. So you are absolutely correct. How would you say people's expectations for retirement have changed as far as travel, hobbies, lifestyle? Have you seen changes over the past 25 years?
Well, retirement is a relatively new phenomenon.
Mm,
You look back
true.
maybe 50, 60 years, most people didn't really truly retire. I
Mm,
mean, they worked and they died, and
yeah.
they probably didn't spend a lot of time in retirement. And of course, then there was a lot of marketing, advertising around this concept that, okay, you can have this fulfilling retirement where you're going to do all of these amazing things with travel and experiences and all of that. And it became it's more of a modern idea that I'm going to stop working and then I'm going to live this life that we see in social media or on TV or whatever, where I'm laughing and smiling and walking on a beach and playing pickleball and having this great life. For most people, it's not like that. I mean, for most people, it's a very big shift. I mean, you've worked your entire career at whatever it was that you were doing, and now I'm choosing to leave that part of my life behind, and it's a big transition.
Mhm,
Now we see people have a lot of success with that. We see people who really struggle with that. So
mhm,
when they make that big transition and now they don't really have that meaning and that purpose or that focus in their life, they struggle to kind of keep themselves, feeling good about what they're doing. And that's a real thing. We see it all the time.
mhm,
And then on the other hand, if people have good connections, maybe good family, good friends, they have more of a social element to their life, a lot of those people succeed very well in retirement. But the
mhm.
common denominator from a financial planning perspective is we don't want you to like choose to limit yourself based on your finances out of fear that you're going to run out. We
Yeah,
want you to understand and know, like, I can choose to make this decision and I'm going to be okay. And now that gives me that confidence that I can make an intentional decision about what I want to do with my life.
yeah. So do you think now that people have more information at their fingertips, do you think that makes them more confident in retirement planning, or do you think it makes it more overwhelming?
I think for the vast majority of people, it's more overwhelming.
Mm,
You know, you just when you think you know enough, like I've got all this information available to me on the internet, and I can ask Chat GPT, and I can do all these different things. Just when I think I've got it figured out, you know, I go out and somebody brings up something else.
mhm,
And then I go, oh my goodness, I never even thought of that. And so even in our meetings, people will come in, we'll walk them through the whole retirement puzzle, picture of what they're trying to do. And they get done with the meeting and they go, this was so great. I feel so much better knowing all these different things. And they leave our office, they go out into the world, they get bombarded with information and noise and opinions and all these different things. And they almost immediately get back into a sense of panic like, well, I don't remember us talking about this, or I don't
mhm.
remember that I needed to do this or that, or I wonder if Dan thought about this or Leah thought about that. And so then they come back and they're almost more overwhelmed than when we started. And we walk them back through the whole thing again and they go, oh, I feel so good about this. And it always makes sense when you describe this to us. And then
Mhm.
I leave and all of a sudden, none of it, like it all gets jumbled up in the noise of the world around us again. And so I think people, for the most part, life used to be simpler. And
Mhm.
maybe I had a pension and Social Security, my life was relatively simple. Maybe I was debt free. I was living pretty easily. Now there's so many choices, so many options, so much information that people are getting paralyzed into procrastination. A lot of people have issues with depression or anxiety because their brain was never meant to just be bombarded with all of these inputs.
Yeah, that you're exactly right. When previously you brought up how people would go from retirement to, no longer being here essentially. Not I'm sorry, not from retirement to no longer being here, but from working to no longer being there. So retirement wasn't um, a priority back in the day. So I'm assuming there weren't major concerns about healthcare costs or longevity risk back then. Would you say? Okay. So was
Not
there
really.
any predominant concerns when it came
Well,
to planning
I
for
can tell
retirement
you
back then?
one of the biggest changes that's happened is the just absolute focus on healthcare.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mhm.
people that want to retire before 65, they've been convinced like they can't get health insurance, it's going to be grossly expensive, and it's not going to cover anything, and can I trust it, and blah, blah, blah. We answer that question for a lot of people who are under the age of 65, and in many cases, they just have no idea how it works.
Yeah.
Then you hit 65, and a lot of people think Medicare is free. Medicare is not free.
No.
And so it's a brand new budget item for most people. They have to pay for Part B. They have to, have a supplement, have a Part D prescription drug plan, and it all gets so confusing. It's again,
Mhm.
there's so much marketing around it. When you get to open enrollment for Medicare and you get bombarded with all those advertisements for enter your zip code and find out if you can get free coverage and all these different things,
Yeah.
it's another overwhelming thing.
Yeah.
So back in the day, people worked, maybe they had health insurance through their employer. Then if they did retire, they went right on Medicare because hardly anybody retired early unless they were in like a teacher's pension or maybe a police officer or something like that. But early retirement wasn't a big goal for most people 50 years ago. They just worked.
Right. Well, this has been a very insightful conversation. I love hearing about, how retirement planning was back then versus now. Is there anything else that you would like to add?
Yeah, I think emphasizing that retirement really is a cash flow puzzle is so important because a lot of the nurses we help have pensions,
Hmm.
and many of them have not saved a lot, but maybe they're debt free, maybe they've paid off their house, and with their pension, their Social Security, they're making close to what they were making when they were working, and they're going to have a good quality of life, but yet they're scared to death to retire
Yeah.
because the world convinces them they need $1 million or $2 million or $3 million, and they don't have that.
Right.
And so focusing on the income you need to maintain quality of life and then the resources available to do that. That's where a great financial planner really comes into play to give you that confidence.
Well, thank you so much for all the advice you shared and all the tidbits you shared. And until next time, have a good one.
Thanks, Leah.
Thank you.